in this part, we'll do the 3-inch guns next. There's 16 guns all up with 15 parts each, and I really wanted to try and solder all the parts together without using any glue. So I did a couple trial runs, as you can see on the pictures, and I did actually manage to do it. So we'll run through that now. So here's all the parts cut out, ready to go. Total of 240 parts, minus the 2 guns I've already done for the trial. So let's make a start now. So we'll start with the pedestals. And as always, we just need to give everything a bit of a clean where it's going to be solder. I'm just going to do 2 pedestals just to show a couple of different things, but I'll just make 1 gun fully on camera. So with the, again, because we're soldering both ends of the pedestal, we just need to give them a clean up. What I've done is on the bottom of the pedestal there's a pin, so I've just drilled a couple of 1mm holes to secure that. The hole in the base plate is actually wider than the pin, so we need to make sure we center that. So there's a couple of things I want to try or show, and from experiments they seem to be the same outcome. So for applying the flux, I want to just try and keep it to the inside, because the solder flows where flux is. So we want to try and preserve the bolt detail. So for the first one, I'm going to pre-tin the base plate. And then for the second one, I'm going to try the flux, the solder paste. Again, try and keep it away from the bolt detail. Okay, so for the pre-tinning one, we'll just apply heat. Okay, so now we can fit the pedestal. So because the holes in the plates are slightly bigger than the pedestal pin, we need to just make sure that the base plate's centered. So we'll just push it back and forth until we're happy. Okay, so this was a pre-tinned one, and this is the solder paste. So what I want to do is just apply downward pressure, and then we'll apply heat. Now it will take a bit of time because you've got quite a large mass of brass. Okay, now we do the same for this one. Okay, so as you can see, I think the paste is easier, but a lot quicker anyway. And it's securely on. And then the tinned one, it's securely on as well. Okay, so that's a pedestal. Working our way up, we'll do these next 2 parts. So remember to clean on both sides. So what we need to do is form these little boxes on the ends. It's just a case of working out the best order to fold them. What I found is trying to fold bigger boxes, or the larger boxes, form a lot easier and neater. But what I think is, because we're getting down to these very small sizes, the actual thickness of the photo etch is now coming into play and interfering with just how tight you can get everything. So we'll fold up the two sides to get a start on them. And then hopefully we can close that and close the two sides. So hopefully you can see that's the box formed. Now, like I say, with the larger boxes, these two ends would fit very snugly. But certainly the thickness of the photo etches now coming into play because they're so small. Okay, so that's that one. And this one's the same, but what you need to watch is that tab there actually sticks out, so we need to maintain that. So we'll put the 90 in there first. We'll start that edge there, but then we'll put in, oops, and then this last end, we'll try and put the 90 in now. Okay, so that's, I don't know if you can see this. Now hopefully we can close the box. Okay, so needs to go back. Because remember, we want to keep this edge here, this lip. So I might be able to push it back in a bit, which I've done. Start up the sides. Okay, I managed to find it. Just by keeping a listen to hear what it hits, you can usually find them. Okay, so then we just close the box. Now this one's got some edge detail on it as well. Okay, that back edge. And as you can see, hopefully, we've kept that flange because that's important for the further step. Okay, so we'll get these soldered up next. Okay, so let's solder up these boxes. I'm going to squeeze it to make sure that that internal face is closed up because I don't want to put solder in there if I can help it. So now we'll again apply the flux. And what I'll do is I think I'll do the two back edges. So we'll just take a little bit of solder and then we'll just apply it. Okay, a bit more flux. I'm just going to do that two sides. Okay, so hopefully that's clear. Won't take too much to clean that up, which we'll do in a sec. And then we'll just do this little box again. And I'll just squeeze it from the top. Now we want to try and avoid filling in the edge detail in the front. I'll squeeze it this way if I can. Okay, don't know just how much you can see of that, but that's that one done as well. Let's clean them up and then we'll move on. We'll just use the diamond file. Okay, and we've still managed to save the edge detail. Okay, so this one we'll put aside for the time being, and we'll come back to that one, and we'll continue on with this. So the next thing we're going to do is attach the hand wheels to these now. So for the hand wheels, you have to be mindful that you need to bend the handle forward. So there is a small wedge line on the handle there. So we need to make sure we put them on the right way. Also, I think that's so thin you can bend them anyway, wouldn't matter. So I'm going to use this to hopefully make it easier to get the handle on without losing it. Okay, so it goes that way. Okay, so I don't even know if you can see that. Just put some flux on. And then in this case, what I'm going to do is just put on a tiny sliver of solder. I can barely see it. Just apply heat. And that was it. So hopefully you can see that. And it's secured. Okay. Actually, you might be able to see it better. Okay. So a slight angle. Again, it's barely going to be noticeable. What we can do now, so is we'll take the handle and just bend it up to 90 degrees. Okay. And then we'll do the same for the next one. So I'm just trying, like I say, the pegs there really to try and help locate the hand wheel. There is a shoulder for the hand wheel to sit on, but it's very fine. I don't even know how much of this you're seeing. Okay, and again, some flux and a tiny sliver again. This one's harder because you don't have such a large spigot sticking out. That's better. You want to bend up the handle. Okay, so that's the two hand wheels on. And then the last thing to do for this part is we just need to bend the box down 90 degrees. So that's that part finished. So we'll move on and attach it to the pedestal. So that was a pedestal we did previously. We'll just we'll just flux this disc here. Set that aside. And we'll apply the solder paste to the top here. I'm going to keep it off the peg. And then we'll apply this to the pedestal. Okay, I'll spin it around. Just going to use a cocktail stick to hold it down. Then we'll apply the heat. And there it goes. Okay, we'll just see if it's secure. Yep, I don't know how much you can see. So that's the base of the pedestal. Almost done. Just holding it up to make sure to see if it's level, which it looks to be. And you can actually see the two hand wheels a lot better now. Hand wheels are this one's slightly askew as well, but it's getting almost impossible to see what I'm doing. So there's one more part to go on here before we move on. I've just had a rethink on how to do the hand wheels in this part. What I'm thinking is maybe I should put the sliver of solder on first, melt it, apply the wheel, and then reapply the heat to remelt the tinning. And that might work, because it's hard to see a tiny sliver on the hand wheel as well. Tin that bit first, apply the hand wheel, and then apply the heat. I'll try that in the next ones. So here's the next part we'll work on. And again, same deal, we'll clean it up. Okay. So what we need to do is bend up this part here, which is for the gun sight. So that goes that way first. Once we put the initial bends in, we can double check that angles are right. And then it comes this way 30 degrees. If you look head on, it should go 30 degrees that way and then vertically up. So this needs to go vertically up a bit now, in the last top section. Again, we just have a look head on. So the top section should be in the same line as here, continuing up. And that looks not too bad. So the next part to go into there is the gun sight. And there's like a wider end, which I'm guessing is like the eyepiece, goes to the back. What we're going to do is tin that top edge. I've tried tin it already, but I don't have enough. Get some solder on. That's better. So now the tricky part is getting the gun sight on. I'll just flux this as well. So we'll hold this on here. We'll push up the gun sight to it. And then hopefully pushing the iron onto it. Got the gun sight attached to its post mounting. See how strong it is. Okay, so that's on there nicely. There's a wee bit of spike of solder, but that's gone. Okay, so hopefully you can make that out. That's the gun sight on. So I'm just trying to orientate myself because so this fits, that flange fits under there, and then we can put them together. So we'll do that now. Part there. There's a fine rod, we'll have to watch, we don't keep bending it, it will eventually snap. So what we'll do is we'll tin the back edge, which is that, and we'll tin that flange of the box. It's quite heavy, but now I'm just again trying to orientate myself. And again, trying to make it so you guys can see. So that fits onto there. Hopefully I can do this without blocking your view. So if I can hold this. Okay, so it's on top at an angle. It's better. So hopefully you can see that's the box attached. So now we'll fold this up 90 degrees. Oh, actually you can see it from the back as well, looks quite good. Hold that there. Bend that up at 90 degrees. Or as close to, because we've still got other stuff to do here. Now we'll attach it to the pedestal. So again, we'll just flux the bottom. I'll flux this, but to be honest, I'm going to put paste on there again. So we just want to apply the paste onto that part there. And this is where it's unclear in the instructions just exactly how far this part sits. So hopefully you can see that there's a certain gap that we need to maintain between this upright piece and the hand wheels. I'm not exactly 100% sure where it should be, because you've also got the interaction with this box at the back as well. I think if I take it round and we'll hold it down. Give it a push and a pull, and that seems to be secure. So now we can bend this last section up. Again to 90. a bit more. Okay. So we're finished with the pedestal now. So it's looking not too bad. Boxes are cleaned up. I haven't hidden any of the edge detail. Gun sight went in okay. Hand wheels are okay. And that's the beauty. It's a lot of work, but God knows how many times if I used super glue, the gun sight would have been knocked off, the hand wheels would have been lost. But it's all looking pretty secure now. So the next step is we'll move on to the gun barrel. So we'll do the gun barrel assembly now. So the next part is we need to wrap this plate around the gun barrel. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to anneal this part here. So hopefully by softening the brass we'll get a nice smooth curve. Being the way it is, it's quite stiff, so potentially you'll put kinks into it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to heat it up with a torch. You're going to be quite careful how much you heat it. If you remember the pictures at the beginning, I overheated one of them, the painted one, and you can actually see it's all wrinkled in it because it started to melt. I think that's not too bad. It's hard to tell, but we'll look at the other side here. Actually, I might have went a bit too far in that one as well. Let's see how it cleans up. I don't know, it's fine. Yeah, it's polishing up okay. Yeah, the painted one at the beginning, I had the heat on too long and too close and it started to wrinkle. We need to now form this around the gun barrel, but I don't want to do using the gun barrel because I don't want to put a bend into the brass, which is quite soft really. So I'll bend it around a needle the same size. Because we're only bending the center, I need to push that down as hard as I can because I don't want it to move. And then using the blade, we'll bend it up. Then we'll bend it up on the other side. Okay, so that looks not too bad. The gun barrel. It sits on there nicely. This bit's annoying actually, it's just always in the way. Okay, so we want to solder that onto the gun barrel. So I've got a close peg here. I've drilled a hole which kind of holds that nice and secure. We want to make sure this is nice and clean. And then we'll just apply some flux. We can just straighten up any edges which maybe just not quite uniform. We'll just put some flux in there. And again, I'm going to use the solder paste and put it right into the bottom section. And again, this is one of the parts that's not very clear. What I've done is the back edge, I'm just going to line up flush with that slot, with the recess here. Okay, that's it there. So again, because this is the only part going on so far, it doesn't matter orientation yet. It will once we come to do the remainder of the parts. So let me just check that this is going to push down. Yep, it is. That's good. So we know we've got a nice curve and that kink. So with that all flux solder applied in position, we'll just come in and heat it up. We'll just see. So we'll just come in and just start squaring everything up. Just clean up that edge, a bit more square or straight. So what I'll do is I'll just stick it into this hole here for the next step. So the next stage we'll do is this part here. Now again, this is one of the areas where it's just not clear in the instructions. I mean, obviously we've got a fold line and it tells you to fold it. Okay, so the two big holes have lined up, which is good. That thin arm, it bends out somewhere, but again, you just can't make out in the instructions. But what we will do now is we'll attach it to the barrel. The three holes, they're at the bottom because they hold the recoil dampers, or what I'm assuming is recoil dampers. So we'll stick that in there. We need to make sure the three holes align perfectly with the underside. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to solder on here with the paste. I think that's not too bad there. And we'll come in and apply the heat. I want to make sure this goes down into position but not move. Okay. The problem with using metal to hold things is it robs some of the heat from the iron. That's why I like to use wood all the time, but that seems to be okay. And there's that leg just popped up, which is good, but again, I have no idea where it goes. I'll just leave it there for the time being. But that seems to have been done securely. Okay, so we'll set this aside for the time being, and we'll have a look at the next part. Here's the front plate with the three holes again for the bottom. And then we've got this damper here. Now this just wasn't that clear in the instructions, but what I did manage to work out, and we have to be careful because of the fold lines as well. So they fold back, so this side's the front. What I did work out was, oops, this actually sits like that. And it goes down to the end there, like so. So I'm just going to hold it in here because that means I can get the recoil damper straight and the plate 90 degrees to it. So again, we'll just put some flux on here. Remember the other two holes we need to keep clear. I'll just see if I can apply some solder paste. Apply the heat to the top here. There it goes. Soldered on. Okay, that's not too bad. So then what we do is we take the gun barrel, we slip that over. Okay, so that feeds into the center hole on the back plate. So as you can see, this gets tricky because it wants to spin round. We want to look down the end of it and get the two outside holes lined up. And of course we want to make sure it's fully home at the back there. Okay, by sliding the gun barrel up to the peg. Okay, so with the bottom cylinder lined up with the front and back plate, need to lock the front plate to the gun barrel. So we just put a tiny sliver . Okay, it seems to be locked now. So the last thing to remain to do is to put the other two smaller dampers on the outside. So you can just feed them in. Now I've got a feeling this plate at the side here is interfering with that. So we might be able to bend it out. We can always squeeze it back in once we've got these in place. So we just feed these through, line them up with the other hole. That's that one done. That bit's getting in the way. Okay, so with the two additional cylinders in position, we just need to lock them, stop them falling out. Apply some solder paste on the back side. You have to remember, this will be, if we do it on the underside, this will be turned over right side up, and plus it'll be really low to the deck. You never ever see this. We'll see if we can secure these now. Okay. Well, let's just see if we can move them. If we can, we'll... Okay, that seems to be okay. I think that's them locked in. So, we're almost there. Last thing to do now is we just need to tin these two arms here. And the other side. And now we'll bend them back 90 degrees, or approximately 90 degrees. I think a solder here I don't want, because it'll interfere with the fixings. See if we can. It's better. So now the very last thing is to attach it to the pedestal we made earlier. The two wings we just folded back, they fit to the inside of these uprights. So we'll just tin them. Now again, the actual position is not very clear, so what I've done is I've held the top of the wing flush with this edge and the front of the wing flush with the front. Okay. So if we put the gun barrel in between, I'm just going to tin that again because it's got a real lump on it, which is making it difficult. It's better. Okay, so I'll do one side at a time. Hopefully you can see the wing is more or less in place. So I'm pinching the upright and the wing of the gun. So if I can keep that pressure on and then heat up. I think that's it there. Yep, that's secure now on that side. So you probably can't make out, but it's double there. So you've got the upright plate and then you've got the wing at the back. And then, because they were tinned, they're together now. So now we can manipulate. Okay, so here's a good example. A good view maybe, assuming you can see. So here's the wing. And then we need to hold it tight against the upright plate and then we'll apply the heat. So you can see upright plate and then that bit of solder is the back wing. And that's it, I'm gripping them together now. yeah, that's solid now. Okay, so the last thing is straighten this thing up at the back. You can see I've lost this little thing here, part of that back plate photo edges, it just fell off. That's the third. I've done 3 now, and that's the third one I've lost, so I'm not too fast. Anyway, that's how I do the guns. So I'm quite chuffed that I've been able to fully solder all the components, and they don't look too bad. I mean, and they're certainly a lot tougher than super glue. I mean, I would have lost, apart from a little bit to back, I would have lost anything. Okay, so that's the one from the photos at the beginning. As you can see, so this is the one I was talking about where I overheated the plate, and it kind of got some ripples in it, but again, you're never going to see them. Anyway, that's all done anyway. So I'll stop the video there. I'll finish soldering up and painting all the rest of them. But I'm really pleased that I was able to solder. That was the main goal, was to try and solder them all the parts, and it's kind of worked, so I'm very happy with that.